great to hear from you all today. As Daniel said, we've got some things to show you about the kind of work we do in what we call the immersive area of the business that we work in from Framestore. I think we've got a little bit to start with about just saying the kind of work that we do in this division. I think then we'll just say a little bit about who Adam and myself are. If we can just go on to the next bit, Adam. So this is we've got a little sample here of just to kick things off, so you can see what we are referring to here. You may well know of Framestore for the kind of work we do in the film and television work we do, but what we're talking about today is what we refer to as our immersive work, which is basically many things. It can be many things. It's all the non-traditional screen formats and the more interactive elements, or more things that you can touch and feel. So if we play this quick reel, and then we'll then come back and explain a little bit about who we are. Okay, so that was some of the things that we do. You can see it's really quite a broad range of things. So who are we? Adam, who are you? Say hello.
Well, hi there. Yeah, so I run the business development for the immersive division. I was a producer for 6 or 7 years in our department before, came from film and commercials. And so now I look after the sort of development of our division, which is kind of quite exciting what we do, because a lot more of it is about partnerships with other companies. So we find a lot of people that we find are doing interesting things, and we sort of develop good relationships with them, because the projects that you've seen, they require sort of lots of different skill sets that we probably won't have on staff, and we may only engage for different parts, but it's exciting to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Gavin Fox. I'm a creative director here, working across many different types of the immersive projects you saw just then, which my background used to be in more kind of the advertising and the storytelling kind of world. I've done a fair amount of things like immersive theatre and interactive projects, but it's kind of led me into this kind of world of doing. We've first started doing VR projects at Framestore, and now it's doing quite large scale theme park rides and attractions, and it's being able to work with the skill sets that we have at Framestore, and as Adam says, bringing on much more specialist skill sets as well. But then how we can then take our skill sets and apply them into doing these very, very unique projects. Everything we do is very unique. No two projects are the same, and we're always having to invent things to make things work. The other guy there, Charmander, I don't think could make it to the presentation today. Is he coming, or is he? I don't think he's going to be.
I left him in that bar that he's pictured in. Actually,
he was happy there, so that's fine. So some of the things that we do, as I say, this is not an exhaustive list, although it's exhausting to read it. It's a snapshot of the types of projects we have done or we do, and you can see it's really quite broad. Things like dark rides, VR roller coasters, free roaming VR, projection mapping, big media installations, real-time data visualization, game development, motion-based VR, all these things, digital wayfinding. You can see basically this list of things are projects which don't fall into being either a commercial, a TV commercial, or a film or a TV show. You can see it's everything that is kind of taking the similar skill sets and the similar way of thinking, but applying them to very unique forms of either screens or no screens, or understanding how that the audience interact or experience these experiences or these media installations in nothing like how you would do if experiencing a movie. So we're really having fun, basically having taken our skill sets and pushed them into this new way. And you can see that we've won lots of awards in this world, so we've done very well in it. And we're going to now show you some case studies. Adam?
Yeah, so we're going to sort of go through just a few case studies to kind of show the breadth of the work that we do. We'll hopefully land on lots of different skill sets that we sort of utilize, and the types of artists that we have on our team. I think you're up first, Gav.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to be very brief about these. You'll find more information around because we've got a lot to show, but we kind of wanted to show you, as Adam says, things that show some of the different skill sets. So Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. This was, or still is, at Disneyland, or Disney California Adventure, if you want to be specific, which I do. And this was the first large-scale ride attraction that we launched, and it was working with James Gunn and the filmmakers, along with all of Disney's Imagineering team, to create all of this, the media in this attraction for this Guardians of the Galaxy ride out there in Disney. And it's a good example as how we used our knowledge and our ability to create all of the characters that you see in the movie and recreate them in the way that works for the ride, which is doing it at a higher frame rate and a higher resolution, but in a way that is a lot more kind of visually impactful. And we've managed to create this this attraction that's been extremely well enjoyed, and lots of very loud rock music, which works well. Yeah. And what we got next? Okay, so this is then another project. Similar, but a bit broader, a lot broader. This is a project, our latest project that we launched last year in China. This was Lionsgate Entertainment World. So for this project, it's one big theme park. It's all indoor. The first, they coined the phrase the first vertical theme park, because it's a big kind of tower block indoor theme park, and each floor is a different theme. And for this park, we were fortunate enough to actually create virtually every attraction in the park, and each attraction is based on a different Lionsgate film IP. You can see them in there. There's Twilight and Gods of Egypt, Divergent, Hunger Games, and each one is actually quite different. Yeah, we've got a little reel here to show you. Yeah, so they're very different in what we did here. So some of them are kind of real-time media and using kind of like motion capture and live action elements, like this one for Twilight, and that was working in amongst a physical set design. And then Gods of Egypt is a VR roller coaster. It was the first time someone's built a roller coaster to be VR from scratch. So that was a world's first there. That was an interesting one to do. Midnight Ride, we're going to talk about in a bit more detail in a minute. I won't steal Adam's thunder. Let's talk about that one in a minute. Mockingjay Flight. This was a simulator ride in the Hunger Games world where you're kind of escaping the capital. Big motion base, high resolution media, and Divergent VR simulator. So this is or Fear Simulator. This is a free roaming multi-person VR experience with lots of touchscreen interactive. So we're mapping the real world into real time. So you can see very briefly there that snapshot is the very different types of skill sets and different technologies we used in that park. I think Adam's going to talk a little bit about Midnight Ride on the attractions there.
Yeah, I think this was probably the kind of most exciting and innovative of the attractions that we developed for that park, which was the last thing I produced actually, with Gav was directing it. And it's a motorcycle-based VR attraction where you have the riders have a degree of agency within sort of a 5-meter wide track. It gets a bit wider in places, and this narrative kind of plays out over 4.5 minutes, where at points the riders don't realise they lose agency as the story happens around them. And there was quite a lot of sort of game development that went under the hood to sort of make sure that all the riders arrived in the right place at the right time, and all the audio is on board on those speakers on the front. You can see there, so it all has to sync up well, otherwise it wouldn't have been a great experience for everyone. So yeah, it was a pretty fun one to work on. The next Jurassic World.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. This is just an example we put in there as something where this was actually all of the pre-show media and the ride media, sorry, the queue media for the Jurassic World attraction in Universal Studios Hollywood. So it's not actual, we did do some of the elements that are on the ride as well, but this is more about talking about this content that starts the attraction. And it's an interesting because it's 90 minutes plus of content that we've made for these really strange wide format screens that are positioned around the queue and around the pre-show area of the attraction. And for this, we shot all of the live action. You can see we shot with all the talent from the movie, the main talent with Bryce Dallas Howard, Chris Pratt, and BD Wong, and created all new content for the world. And so it's an example of showing how that we work with the filmmakers to allow us to basically add more story that doesn't exist in the movies. So this was creating as if it was a closed circuit TV show that happens in the park with these roving reporters interviewing different employees around the park, which happened to be Owen Grady and Claire and Dr. Wu about their daily business. So it was a huge project to do. We did it in a relatively quick time compared to other projects because the ride was actually developed quite quickly. Yeah, it was just really good to be able to do it was a very, very big live action shoot we had to do for this, that then we used lots of kind of CG elements to bring some of the dinosaurs alive and some of the more kind of like design elements. But it was a cool thing to do. I think you're on the next one.
Yeah, change tact. This was a project that we did for Samsung that first launched at the Winter Olympics in Korea, and probably most jealous of this project team because they developed this harness and rig, which meant spending a month at NASA learning about their rig so they could recreate it. So this is on the Gear VR, so kind of optimizing the visuals for that was quite a challenge for the team. And the harness replicates lunar gravity, so you sort of live out a 90-second moon bounce, I guess. And it's kind of toured around. I believe it's currently still in the Samsung store in Tokyo, but it's been to Barcelona and New York. So, and each building that represents a new challenge for the team because the rig has to be redone and set up differently. And another of a sort of VR AR attractions was for the last season of Game of Thrones. For AT&T, they wanted to develop this one in the background was a AR experience on the Magic Leap because AT&T are big investors in that. And we also developed a VR experience for that, which was pretty fun. There you go. It's all the case studies.
There you go. I said they were really quick.
Yeah. So we thought we'd kind of run through the type of skill sets that we utilize as a team. I mean, generally, as a rule, we have quite a small core team with expertise like Gav's in sort of, the creative development of these worlds and the sort of VFX supervisors who are used to these sort of new challenges that we meet. And then what we do is we use the same pool of artists as are used for film and TV. We are growing as a team because these skill sets become more invaluable to us. But we thought we'd outline a few of them to kind of give you an idea. So skill sets first. So yeah, we do quite a lot still of pre-rendered content. I mean, especially for the big IP holders like Marvel, they want their visuals for their attractions to be done by people who have worked on the film, and they've obviously got to be of a certain level. Hence why there's not too many VFX houses out there who can engage in it. So the skills, we use the same pipeline as the film guys with some modifications and some slightly different tool sets, but it's very much the same sort of skill sets in terms of model texture, effects artists, animation. There's a slight difference in animation because quite often our animators will be animating the ride vehicle as well, or they'll have to react to the ride vehicle in terms of how the whole scene plays out. So that's an interesting challenge always. And I think otherwise, the only other difference really is that there's, for the supervisor level, there's quite a lot of challenges in terms of things like in a dark ride, when you're arriving at the screen, the media is warped, so it always appears correct from the perspective of the car. So that, we have to write particular tool sets to develop that and allow all the artists to sort of work on it without having it look weird, essentially.
Okay, so then another big part of our work is real time. Adam, you should go to the next slide. I should play some pictures behind it. There we go. So for the real time work we do, it's obviously there's different applications for that, whether it's for VR attractions or sometimes for big screen attractions that need to update, or they need to be more very, very long content. We use real time quite a bit. We have dedicated real time teams, and the skill sets that they have are very specific to real-time work as far as understanding how to work in game engines. But outside of that, the work that goes into what they do is quite often using talent outside of that team, like animation talent that will work on, like the animators that worked on that Midnight Ride a project, for example. They work on film projects as well and TV shows, but we can take that same talent pool and create the animation that can then be handed over to the real-time team to implement that into real-time game engines. And because of the kind of work that we do and what we're known for, more often than not, we're asked to try to create very realistic real-time engines or real-time look to try to replicate film elements, filmic worlds. But at the same time, we do much more stylized things as well. If we are trying to do something to represent, to work on sometimes we're doing things to sell a certain headset or something like that is more a mobile-based thing. So sometimes it's very stylized. But yeah, the skill sets are quite specific for the real-time actual engine, as I say, but then we do still use the more traditional people that can transfer their skills from film and TV into real-time as well, where appropriate. I think that's cool. What we've got next.
Design. So yeah, this is our sort of design department, which is, we have departments in all of our offices globally. And when we're seeing an increasing amount, of sort of heads-up display work that we do, this sort of, the 90 minutes Jurassic World content had lots of DNA splicing and things like that. But as I said, lots of overlays of our attractions or the data visualization, design of that. So this team is kept very busy by us. They also have done several safety videos as well for things that we've done, or sort of the suit up for the Samsung experience. You had a sort of video for that. So there's a wide remit for them. And there was a reel as well.
Yeah, that's all right. So there's some pretty pictures.
Yeah. They also they engage in sort of the stylized animation and title sequences and things like that as well. So they get to do some pretty beautiful stuff, really.
Okay. Yeah.
Perhaps.
So Yeah, labs. So labs is another department we have that's they work on various things, normally large scale projects. So this project in particular was for the London Stock Exchange, which is this reinvention of how they visualize and kind of make it a little bit more of an emotional kind of like place for seeing how the stock exchange works. And here's an example for the Morgan Stanley building in New York in Times Square. And you can see that what they do is they take very large screens and they apply, more often than not, real-time graphics to it, sometimes pre-rendered graphics to these screens, but they build all the systems behind it as well as actually the content that goes on there. So the content management systems and the real-time engines, sometimes it's working with things like Unreal, sometimes they build their own systems for them. It's being able to design these kind of touchscreen interfaces that can bring up information, and it all needs to be designed and created so it's bulletproof for these things because they work outside, they work 24/7, and they tend not to explode, hopefully. So it's a very tricky kind of like demanding space to work in, but it's all very kind of large scale. And like you can see there, like the Morgan Stanley building was wrapping all these screens around a building and knitting them all together as one big canvas. But yeah, they do quite a broad range of work, and this is some of the wayfinding and the signage kind of look they're moving more into as well now, to doing a lot more work around signage around spaces as well.
There was that one time they nearly burned down Tate Modern.
Only the one time though.
Yeah. This is probably my favourite bit. Certainly when I was working on
yeah, me as well.
projects.
Fun.
The fun bit really is that when you come to delivering, we are there on site with screwdrivers and hammers and whatever. Well, if I've got a hammer in my hand, it's probably gone badly. But we're often speccing the hardware systems, or certainly advising the clients on things like projectors, and to be honest, everything that goes into it. And yeah, we're on site at the end. Usually we have on-site comping, probably is the only thing that will actually actively be developed on site, just because obviously once you get there, you see it in situ with the lighting and the projector set up, then you kind of want to make those small adjustments at the end. Any bigger changes when we're on site will be sent back for someone to say make animation or camera changes back at the headquarters. So yeah, that's kind of my favorite bit.
Yeah, it's a fun bit. It's probably the most demanding bit, but it feels like an actual adventure when you've been out there on site and onto a building site. And it's just always good when you get all the team there, even the people that are constructing it are all getting together and trying to make this illusion. I guess then that leads us on to this idea of these challenges and opportunities. We always use the word challenges rather than problems, but they're basically problems. We're always trying to create something that isn't possible. When we're trying to place you either in the middle of Jurassic Worlds with a dinosaur, or you're riding a motorbike with vampires chasing you, they're not necessarily things that are terribly possible without some technology, and that technology wants to be invisible. People don't need to know it exists. So that's a challenge. But there's also the challenge is what comes with that is the other kind of things that you need to be aware of is the practicalities that we need throughputs to be able to be really high. So things need to happen quickly, and you need to be able to do this with a lot of people at once. But also you need to be able to make things like, for example, here, the VR, what you're looking at in the background there was actually the VR headset that was developed specifically for the Midnight Ride attraction, because it was a VR attraction that actually had a very high throughput, so people can get on and off of it very quickly. But also, very importantly, it has to be very hygienic. This is even before COVID, but it was the idea of VR headsets need to be very clean. And so this headset is an example of how to do that, where the piece on the left is a piece that's cheaply produced in its thousands, but it feels really comfortable, and it's you wear that in the queue. It kind of looks like a Birdman mask, but you can wear that in the queue and you can feel comfortable with it, and you can get the right size and spend as long a time as you want to do that. And then when you get onto the ride and sit on the motorbike, the actual bit on the right, the screen and all the hardware is winched down and just magnetically just appears and clips onto your face without you really doing anything, and it's all done very quickly, then you're already on the ride. As soon as the ride's finished, that just detaches and winches away. You take that face mask off, is given to an attendant, and that's put into an industrial dishwasher, like 3D glasses on a ride, and taken around and given to somebody coming up. So those are the kind of like the level of engineering that we need to go to make these things possible. But also is the opportunities they bring. They bring be able to develop this kind of technology is being able to give people experiences they couldn't have in any other way. There is no way you could do some of the things that we can give people without being, sat on a motion base with a air cannon at the right time and with the 3D media triggered properly. So, you couldn't do this in any other way. So it's very challenging, but I've personally find it, and the audience find it, very rewarding, because it's the very unique experiences we can offer. And I think then
the last thing you asked, I think probably another of the great things about what we do is the chance to collaborate with some amazing companies and people, and it is really collaboration, which is the nice thing, because coming from the film world, you get your shots and you get given them, and it's less of a sort of collaborative process. It can be in certain cases, but it isn't always. Whereas these attractions were developing over a 2, 3, 4 year period, and people are coming to us to actually creatively develop it and design the systems that are going to go in wherever they are. And so we're kind of pushing the boundaries of technology, so working closely with some of the companies down the bottom you see there, and in terms of engineering as well, we've even developed our own range of theme park attractions with Cowboy there. So it is a very nice element of our job, the fact that we get to sort of work with some of these amazing people.